just want to make sourdough for my husband.
I'm just going to bake sourdough. You're mocking what you claim to defend.
A man, a provider, you just get to sit at home, bake bread every day? Slim to none.
Well, honey, maybe in Los Angeles it is. You're in a liberal, leftist, bullshit bubble. You got to get out.
It could not be easier, if that's what you're going to pursue, to be trapped by a man.
Let me tell you something, honey. Hey, everyone. Welcome. So I had to pop in here today. Something's going viral. It's been going viral. I decided, you know what? Got to weigh in. Before you do anything, I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to show some love and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe and help me do what I do. All right. Today we have a reaction to a clip that went viral from someone named Emily Wilson. Didn't know who she was. She has an account at Emily Saves America. Made some comments that drove people wild about, well, you'll see. So we're going to play it. We're going to stop and go. And I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Okay, let's roll.
Hate to call out my own party, but the young girls on the right promoting this like Tradwife bullshit. I just want to make sourdough for my husband. That's great. I'm all for it. I promote traditional values. I understand. I have been working since I was very young.
Okay, let's pause that right there. Already. Okay. All right. So what you need to know about Emily is, and this is important because the perception, again, is that this feminism reeks in liberal women. And it's just not true. In fact, this conservative feminism is some of the most insufferable kind because liberal women who are feminists are proud feminists. They wear the label in its entirety. They'll tattoo it on their forehead. They'll walk around. They'll go to the parade. They'll have a sign. You know, they'll go braless and just paint it all over their chest. They're proud feminists. The conservatives aren't proud feminists. They actually hate that word because it associates them with the left. So what happens is a complete lack of self-awareness, and they actually espouse many of the same values when it comes to these issues, when it comes to these, stay-at-home mom, when it comes to the working mom, when it comes to all of these issues, these very particular issues, they espouse many of the same tenets as the feminists on the left, but there's no self-awareness and there's no willingness to acknowledge, hey, this brainwashing, it happened to me too. So what's interesting, she's a Trump supporter. I don't know anything about her except that she has a TikTok, she has a YouTube, and she's very proud of what she claims are conservative values. She sells merch about being a conservative. And what's really interesting is right off the bat in this clip, you hear her say Tradwife bullshit. Okay, so the true colors show right off the bat, right? She does the voice, I'm just going to bake sourdough. So already you're mocking what you claim to defend, in one breath, I'm just going to make sourdough. And then in the next breath, oh no, I support traditional values. I'm somebody who really support. No, you're not. No, you're not, honey. Let's acknowledge that it turns your stomach. The idea that these women will be at home, will be real stay-at-home moms, will be making their sourdough, and will be comfortable with the reality that they don't need to do a career climb and they don't need to make their own money. So you swallow the talking points. Just acknowledge it. Sit back. And by the way, conservative women, if you're honest with yourselves and you do content like this, you'll sit back and say, what the heck am I saying, man? What am I doing? What am I spewing? Does this even make any sense? Rather than just gloss over it and pretend it didn't happen, acknowledge it, take it as a come to Jesus moment for yourself, because every single woman out there has some brainwashing when it comes to this stuff, especially the ones like Emily Wilson. And I'll include myself in that, by the way, because I grew up in New York City and I was fed the same bullshit for a long time and ate and swallowed a lot of it. She's from Los Angeles. So Los Angeles isn't exactly, elevating the Tradwife. Let's just say that. All right, let's keep going.
I don't really plan on stopping working. I suggest you find a hobby that makes you money. But you guys, guess what? Guess what, baby girl? That lifestyle working out, a man, a provider, you just get to sit at home, bake bread every day, slim to none.
Okay, stop that. Okay, do you see, if you didn't know that she was a conservative, whatever the hell that means, right? What does that even mean? Does that mean that you work for a network that, endorses the mandate? What does that even mean anymore, right? Let's just acknowledge that conservative and liberal don't mean anything anymore. People just like to throw those words around, right? To cater to a supposed audience. I'm a conservative. Look, I made a t-shirt. Yeah, no one gives a shit, honey, about your t-shirt. No one gives a shit about your t-shirt. What do you actually believe at your core? What do you actually feel? What values are you actually fighting for? Because it's not traditional values. I can tell you that right from this. And this is not to pick on Emily, by the way. She's young. I don't know how old she is. It was really hard to figure it out. I'm guessing like mid-20s. This is not to pick on her. This isn't a personal attack. This is what's happening all across conservative America when it comes to women. And we did a reaction to Tomi Lahren, and we did a reaction to Megyn Kelly. And we're going to do as many of these as needs to happen for people to realize that this inculcated feminism that is the enemy of traditional values is not just happening on the left. This needs to be gutted out of society across the board, including among many who label themselves as so-called conservatives. That's why I'm doing this. So she says she works. She's not going to stop working anytime soon. Okay, great. That's a decision you make. Fine. Okay. What does that have to do with what other stay-at-home moms are doing? And what does that have to do with ragging on people and creating a false sense of reality, right? Because she also says that you need to find a hobby that makes you money. Okay, right off the bat, the implication is that women need to be making money. And she'll get to why. We'll get to that too when she gets to it. But women need to be making money, right? And why? What is the implication? It's not safe. It's not safe to not make money. You're not protecting yourself. What is the underlying language in that? The underlying language is that you need to protect yourself from a man. You can't trust a man. He'll leave you. He'll walk out on you, even though we all know statistically that it's men are not the ones leaving, that it's women who are leaving those situations. The divorces are coming from women most of the time, right? But the talking point from the left-wing feminists, from the media, from the big cities that everybody swallowed, including all the conservative women, is that a guy's not safe. He's going to leave you. So you got to protect yourself. You got to have your own money, right? You got to have your own money. You can't be just a stay-at-home mom, just a stay-at-home mom. I use that on purpose because they use that. That's what they say, even though it's the most important job that you could ever have. And those of us who have our head on straight know that. Okay, so you got to find a hobby that makes you money, right? Because you got to protect yourself from a man. Oh my gosh. And then she goes on to say this die of a man, a provider. So now you're digging on the idea of a male provider, which is the whole basis of the conservative traditional value movement. Male provider is it, love. That is what it is. It's your masculine man who protects the house, who makes the money, who, is fit, it's all the things that conservative women supposedly care about. A few months ago, a friend of mine's credit card got stolen. It was a total nightmare, wreaked havoc on their whole family. Financial security was threatened, everything. And I said, why didn't you get Aura? She should have. She has it now. Identity theft, by the way, is happening every 14 seconds in America. That's an astounding stat. On this show, I want to protect you from identity theft. I want to protect your privacy. I want to protect your financial security. I'm excited to share this partnership. I told you I'd never promote something on the show that I don't use. I use Aura for my family. My parents now use it. My extended family at large, my friends, everyone. Aura is identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software, and it's all in one app. And I'm not terribly tech savvy, as you know. If I can do it, you can do it. It's super duper user friendly. Aura monitors the dark web for your emails, your passwords, and social security numbers, and sends alerts right to your phone or your email if something is going down that's shady. So if someone opens a credit card in your name, for example, Aura sends you a real-time alert. The VPN also lets you stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history, very important, and personal info safe and encrypted. You all know I talk a lot about the system, about the death of privacy. This is a way to protect that privacy. Check this out. Aura found my passwords on the dark web 40 times. 40 times. That's scary stuff. If you're curious how many times your passwords are on the dark web, and you should be, right? You got passwords in your bank accounts, all sorts of stuff you don't want people coming in and finding out. If you're curious, I want you today to go to aura.com/Jedediah. Also link below in the show description. And if you sign up right now with my link, Aura is going to give you a 2-week free trial. 2 weeks to see how many times your passwords are on the dark web. You can't lose. There's nothing to lose. And if you sign up, let me know in the comments. I want to know how many times your passwords were found. Come on, we got to know this stuff. I hope you'll take advantage of this amazing offer. The system may be out to get you. I am here to protect your privacy, your security, and all that. Aura.com/Jedediah. You have absolutely nothing to lose. Go find out if your passwords have been compromised. Now somehow it's a bad thing because this idea of a male provider is slim to none. Well, honey, maybe in Los Angeles it is. Maybe in New York City it is. You're in a bubble. You're in a liberal, leftist, bullshit bubble. You got to get out. Because this idea that you think is so foreign of a male provider who lets you bake bread every day. Oh my God, how horrible. How horrible. Oh, I'm in prison. I open the windows and let the beautiful fresh air and look at the flowers and come through my window while the fresh smell of baked bread. Oh my God, I'm in jail. honey. This is not prison. It's a beautiful life, actually. And women are living that beautiful life across the country. Everyone's always talking about, flyover country. The conservatives, flyover country, get out of the cities. And you know where they spew that from? New York City, Los Angeles. They're in the big city, swallowing all the garbage. So when it really comes down to it, what do they stand for? And this is not unique to Emily. You go into Fox News, go ahead, and you ask these women these questions, and I guarantee you 9.9 out of 10 of them will agree with her. I will promise that to you. It's not just a CNN versus Fox News. It's not. This has just warped and twisted and wrecked the minds of women on all sides of the spectrum. That's why I'm showing you this. So there is a clear disdain for the male protector, which is the complete antithesis of what conservatism really is at its core, right? You're a male protector, you're masculine, you're man who's living in his masculinity and proud of it, right? Your woman who's living in her femininity and proud of it, the mom, the traditional family, this all just, it's disdain. It's disdain because it's like, that's not real. No, it's not real in LA for the most part. Some people in LA, but it's not a common thing to be elevated in Los Angeles. And then she says it's slim to none, right? Because her perception is that, you're never going to find a guy that's not going to expect you to work. You're never going to find a situation where you have a guy that's trustworthy enough for you not to work. Well, you're hanging in the wrong towns. You're hanging in the wrong places that elevate the wrong things. You're hanging in places where the traditional conservative values are not important, prioritized, none of that. So your vision is warped. You have a liberal mindset, honey, at its core on these issues. And the best thing you can do today, as any conservative who's watching this who says, oh shit, is that me too? Is to self-reflect and recognize it and gut it because it's poison. Let's keep going.
You're actually setting yourself up for failure because it could not be easier, if that's what you're going to pursue, to be trapped by a man.
Okay, stop there. Trapped by a man. Trapped by a man. That's your talking point. That is your liberal, feminist studies, academia talking point about men. That if women don't work and women don't have their own income, they will be trapped by a man. As if men out there are the enemy, right, at their core, that they're trying to pull one over on you, that they're going to do you wrong, they're going to cheat, they're going to do something. You got to be on the lookout for what they're going to do, and you've got to protect yourself from that guy. Is that a conservative value? Is this a conservative way of looking at a relationship? What are you getting involved? I mean, just don't get, if you see a guy and you feel like, oh, he's just bad news, just don't get involved with him. This idea that you would marry somebody and you'd have to protect yourself and your finances from them. You know what's going to happen, honey? Let me explain something to you. If you don't work, let's say you have a kid, you get married and you have a kid and you decide I'm not going to work. And then one day something terrible happens, right? Let's say you get cheated on. He does something really heinous, abusive, whatever happens. And you decide I cannot do this. You know what's going to happen that's so terrible to you? You're going to leave and you're going to walk away with a lot of his money. He's going to have to pay child support. He's going to have to pay. That guy is going to be paying for you for a long time to come. You're not going to be trapped by a man. This idea of being trapped by a man is such bullshit. I hear this all the time. In the meantime, women make the decisions about divorce. Women say, I don't want to stay here anymore. They leave and they get the money. They get the kids and they get the money. Oftentimes, regardless of the circumstance and regardless of whether they were wronged or not. Because they're favored in the court system. That's a whole separate conversation. But this idea that if you decide to trust, if you find a really good guy and you trust in your man and you're like, you know what, I trust this dynamic. I'm going to let him, he's going to go and do, not let him, but I'm going to embrace him being the breadwinner and I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom and it's all going to be good. It's all going to be good. And you're not looking for the problem or I got to protect myself. It may just work out for you. And it works out for women a lot. This idea of, all women are getting trapped. It's such a horse manure, honestly. All right, let's keep going.
Also, let's bring some other things to the table besides sourdough. Guys want to be mentally stimulated as well as physical, okay? But I'm just like, please, you guys are too young to be promoting this.
Okay, stop. Again. Oh, man. And she thinks she's talking to the young ones, right? And this is why it's dangerous, right? Oh, man. Let's get to that in a second, talking to the young ones, because Chelsea Handler does the same thing. And frankly, what they'd probably say on these issues isn't that much different, right? One sells a Trump t-shirt, one doesn't. But this is a string that runs through. You got to gut it. You got to acknowledge it. Be like, shit, the wiring is in me too. And you got to unravel it and you got to throw it out. As a woman, this is really what you need to do, especially if you're espousing to be a conservative, because this is just, honestly, it's a horseshit. I hate to say it. So she says, don't just, got to bring more to the table, not just, make it sourdough. Again, it's demeaned. Imagine demeaning the idea. It's so nauseating to me. The idea that a woman would want to put a really beautiful meal on the table and spend her day, baking some bread, delicious. Making a beautiful meal, tidying up the house. Everybody feels like they're in this beautiful home. Making a house into a home, right? And not necessarily another thing happened in the conservative movement. It's like, oh yeah, I love traditional values. That's why I have, I basically have a nanny and I have someone who comes and cleans that. You don't do any of it though. So do you believe in what do you do? Right? What do you feel that you should be bringing to the table? But this idea of taking no pride in these things is bizarre to me. I think it's a beautiful thing if a woman, maybe she bakes that bread with her kids. Maybe she says, hey, come on in, and they all bake it together. And it's like the kids get involved. My son, makes pancakes with me and he ferments cabbage with me. He loves it. He's like, Mommy, do I get to squeeze the cabbage? It's fun. The idea that all this is just, oh, you're just making sourdough. Let me tell you something, honey. You're talking about conservative men that you supposedly want. I'm guessing you're not trying to attract a liberal feminist guy, right? Like a Destiny. I'm guessing you're not having the hots for him. You want a conservative guy. He will take a woman who makes a beautiful sourdough bread and turns that house into a home any day of the week over a woman who's going to mentally stimulate him with talk of work and stress and politics and drama. I'll tell you that right now. So she says, oh, we need to bring more to the table than just sourdough. Men need to be mentally stimulated. Listen, how do I break it to you? Guys, you want to help me break it to her? It's not a priority for men to be mentally stimulated by you, by their wives, by their girlfriend. It's not a priority. Is it nice? Do they want to be able to have a conversation with you? Sure. Do they want to be able to talk about different things that are happening in the house? Sure. Yeah, of course. Do they want to raise a family? So you got to, talk about the pros and cons and how we're going to raise our kids. And of course. But if you ask a guy what's high on his list when he's looking for a wife, I dare you to find one that says, I need to be mentally stimulated. Listen, if guys are going to talk about making money, if they're going to talk about their financial struggles, if they're going to go to another guy for those things. They're going to talk about their workout, their calisthenics, or how do I get from this point? They're going to talk to their men about that. What do they value most? Do they want to, do they want to have conversations with you? Do they want you to be caring and loving and supportive? And do they want, to be invested in the home and the home life and the children and their schooling and these decisions with you? Yes, of course. Of course they do. Of course they do. But if you ask them what their priorities are, it's, wow, I want her to be a really good mom. I want her to be someone who cares a lot about turning her house into a home. I want her to be nurturing and loving and supportive of the dynamic of the family, which is for me to be the masculine man and her to be the feminine woman and those kids to be raised in a beautiful, nurturing, healthy family. I want her to, be someone that welcomes the family on holidays. And yes, bakes the sourdough with a big old smile on and has dinner ready and gets really excited about that because it's a beautiful thing for a woman to put a meal on a table. It just is, right? It just is. He's not going to say, well, you know what? I need to dissect. I need to be mentally stimulated. Time to call my wife in. It just isn't. And again, this is the difference between what women think men want from them and what they actually want from them. And it's drastically different. Drastically different. Again, she says she's talking to these young girls. I don't know how old she is. She is young. Okay, you're in your 20s. You can't be like, I'm talking to the youngins. You are the youngin. Okay, it's always funny to me. So she's learning, right? And that's why I say this isn't a personal attack. This is an opportunity for women to self-reflect. But this is why this is dangerous. Because you are talking to young people and you are making them think that making sourdough isn't enough and that this provider protector role doesn't exist because it doesn't exist in Los Angeles when most of the country and most of the conservative men that conservative women actually want to marry do care about these things, do care about, making the house a home, do care about a woman being in her feminine and do want to say, hey, I'm going to work, I'm going to be the provider and you are going to get to sit home and make sourdough all freaking day if you want with these kids. So this is why it's important. Because she's talking to young people, well, guess what? So am I. I'm not so young either. Been around the block in the terms of living. I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles, and I lived in New York City most of my life. So I know exactly what she's swallowed, and it's her duty if she plans to be a conservative. And it's the duty of every single woman out there, if you plan to call yourself a conservative, to start espousing conservative values and stop regurgitating liberal bullshit and then selling a Trump t-shirt on the side. Okay, let's finish it off.
And also, by the way, it's cringe.
Okay. In case you were wondering how she really felt about the traditional values, it's cringe. It's cringe to want to just make sourdough and make a beautiful home and do that stuff with your kids and be a stay-at-home mom. It's cringe. Just be aware that's what's being said. It's cringe. Okay. Why is it cringe? Because she can't imagine a world where she's not making money. She can't imagine a world where, oh my God, I'm defenseless against this man that's going to take advantage of me because I was told my, college academic classes where I learned nothing but got brainwashed that somehow that man was the enemy. It's cringe to think that someone thinks they're going to find a provider guy when I spend all my time actually talking about flyover country and voting and all that, but haven't connected the dots that in flyover country, conservative men actually do care about these things that make them a masculine man and their woman a feminine woman. So again, thank you for watching. This was important to do. This feminism reeks across society. It reeks, and it reeked in me a bit as well, which is why I woke up and I said, oh shit, that's not who I am. That is not what I want to espouse. There's a lot of self-reflection, and it's time that young women do the same. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Again, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button if you want to pass this around to someone. I suggest that you pass this around to all the conservative women in your life who claim to loathe feminism, but are really saying they loathe Gloria Steinem, but they regurgitate all this bullshit just the same. Same shit, different day, honey. Okay. Love you guys. See you soon. Hit that subscribe, hit that like, and I'll see you soon.